welcome to Aggressively Single. I'm Nina Martinez. This is episode 2, and I'm really excited that you guys are here joining us tonight. If you are in the chat room, I'm going to do everything I can to see your chat and try to answer. If you have any questions for the guests tonight, then that would be wonderful. A couple of things to start off. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and at Nina Martinez. And you can follow my Twitter at Dina N Martinez. And also go to facebook.com/aggressively single show. And then like our page and follow the page so that you get all the updates of when the show is going to happen. You can also visit aggressivelysingleshow.com. If you're interested in being a guest, one of our daters for the show, please feel free to click on the link, fill out the survey, ask some questions about what dating apps you are, what you're using, how you identify, and things like that. So go fill that out, aggressivelysingleshow.com. Coming up here in Madison, we are going to be launching Lady Lab's comedy tour, I Love Funny Women, on March 1st after the Social Change Forum. So if you haven't gotten your tickets for that, please make sure that you do get your tickets for the Social Change Forum. And then also go to High Noon Saloon and order your tickets for I Love Funny Women comedy tour featuring me. And then we're going to be March 2nd in Milwaukee at Urban Harvest, presented by Mojo Dojo Comedy. And you can visit their website to get tickets for that. On March 15th, we're going to be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at the Green Room, actually De Pere, Wisconsin. So make sure that you go to the Green Room Lounge and get your tickets there. On March 22nd, 21st, we're going to be in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And you can go to look for Clearwater Comedy on the Facebook. I just said the Facebook. And then on the 22nd, we're going to be in Iowa City at Iowa City Yacht Club, and you can get your tickets for that show there. We're really excited to be working with the Emma Goldman Clinic there to just help them out for the day and get to know them a little bit better. They're an amazing organization that provide abortion services as well as transgender healthcare and women's healthcare across the board. So I'm really excited to be working with them again. So if you have any more questions about what's going on, go to ladylabscomedy.com and find out all the good stuff. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to introduce our daters. I've got Charlene's joining us a little bit late. She's in California, and we didn't account for the time change, and that's things like that happen. But our first dater tonight is actually in Studio G with me. Please welcome Gregg Potter.
All I heard was the Facebook and Yacht Club. Tell me more about the Yacht Club.
It's Iowa City Yacht Club. It's a live music venue in Iowa City. So, yeah. So Gregg is my best friend and non-sexual life partner. I think I probably hinder your dating a little bit because of that, don't I?
A little bit? A lot.
I don't encourage you to have sex. So
she's just a little cheerleader.
Switch over a little bit more so people can see you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am. Would you want like the dating profile?
We'll get to that, but so
I'm 38, so almost 38 years old. I live here in Madison, Wisconsin. I travel a ton for work. I run my own company. I am a Pisces.
And you are a Pisces.
And
his birthday's in like 2 weeks.
So yeah, I don't. Tell me a little bit. Is that good?
So yes, you're
ask me a question.
Yeah. Tell me about how you identify relationship-wise, sex-wise. You don't have to say top or bottom. That's not.
Oh, I totally was gonna be like, okay. I'm first.
But if you want to first, okay, perfect. So you identify as a gay male.
As a gay male.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you tend to be monogamous, or what is your
Oh, we're gonna just dive
romantic.
Right in.
Well, yeah.
I would love to be in a monogamous relationship. Until I'm in it, I am very sex positive.
Okay.
So and I don't think sex is a horrible thing. And yeah, so I'm not like I'm 23 years old again, living in Las Vegas, just tramping it around. But yeah, I don't. Yeah. So, but I do believe in monogamy. I believe it's possible. I also believe that polyamory is possible too, in that that a relationship's got to work for the players in the relationship, and that there should be no social construct to what the relationship is. So
awesome. So the dating, let's see if I can pull up these. Tell us a little bit more about yourself while I'm trying to pull up some things.
I'll get very vulnerable right now. I've only been in a couple relationships I came out when I was 21. Before that, I did date a couple women, but nothing serious. Since I came out, I've been in just 2 real relationships. I'm excellent at dating long term when it's casual. I came out where it is we meet up for dinner once a month. We have a great time. I know these people. We might have sex, and then I see them later. Like it's nothing. I've become an expert at that relationship. But when it comes to commitment, and it's not that I can't do it, because look at how I am with my friends. Look at how I'm not opposed to commitment. I just the right people haven't come around. My last relationship was a long distance relationship with a South African, and that was a great thing. But things come to an end. So
we are on the aggressively page, and these are the pictures that he has on his profile. Who's that?
It's just a picture of when I was working in Belize in January.
I was like, why am I in none of these pictures?
No, because I really don't. I'm a believer that profiles the pictures should be of you. They should be clear. You should be able to see them. They should explain some character and give, I'm quirky, I'm awkward, I am fun, I don't identify as hot. I know I'm cute but
I don't know, the shirtless picture.
But then if you look at it closely, and
very sexy.
You can't really pull that up. It's because I took it because it was this last summer when I had my 3 months working in South Africa, and I've busted my butt to get back down to a size that I was many years ago. And
he's like, I had dysentery for a month and a half. Just kidding. And
in that picture, you can see the chocolate bar wrapper.
Hi, Charlene. Hang on just a moment. I'll introduce you. Let me introduce you in one moment. We're going over Gregg's profile pictures real quickly.
Oh.
Yeah. So on the next page, so you were talking about that.
And that was a quirky picture because it also is pointing out the chocolate bar that I just ate. But yeah, I try not to have other people in my pictures. I guess Tinder's a little bit different. I think that is possible to do that. But with Tinder, at least in the next image that you're showing, I took a screenshot, that my Instagram is connected. And that's really where I think having that ability, if you're really looking for someone, you connect those social media platforms so people have access to you.
Absolutely.
My face.
Let's read your profile, Gregg. It says, looking to make new friends and maybe more. I travel a lot and I'm extremely outgoing. No one knows what will happen after a little good conversation, though. So let's start there. I like that. Right on. Awesome. So we are stopping sharing now. All right. So hi, Charlene.
Hi, Dina. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh my God, I haven't seen you guys in forever.
It's been a little while.
It's been ages.
Been a long time. You look great.
Thanks.
I have to say.
She was talking about me.
Stop it.
I mean, I hope you don't mind my glass of wine. I have.
Cheers.
Woo! We're all here. So this is Charlene Borgia, and she lives in Los Angeles. Tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Oh, a little bit. Oh gosh, it's always so many different things. So I live in Los Angeles. I've been here now for 36 years. Yes, I am 37 years old. I work in the entertainment field. I work in casting. I have my own casting company now. And yeah, I'm still, every once in a while, I do throw the occasional party. As you know, I used to be an event producer back in my heyday. But now I do, you know, throwback parties where it's like everyone kind of, it's like a homage to the 90s. It's our age group.
So tell us a little bit about like do you date solely women?
Mm-hmm.
So you are a lesbian?
I only date women.
Okay.
I've been dating women for a long time now.
As far as relationship oriented, are you monogamous, polyamorous?
Sorry?
Do you tend to be monogamous or polyamorous, or what do you?
No poly. I'm definitely a one woman type of gal.
I love it.
Yes.
Awesome. So let me pull up your profile picture.
Oh God, here it comes.
Present those.
You look amazing, by the way, Charlene, as well. Just an FYI.
You look so good.
Miss your face.
Thank you.
So you're on Bumble and Hinge, is that correct?
Yes. I took off my Tinder. The Tinder was it was a lot.
There's too many things, always. So it says you're the owner of Kismet Casting. Mm-hmm. Good name. Great profile photo. So you put your social media out there, Char on the mic.
Yeah.
Artist, traveler, dancer, lover, poet, hopeless romantic, spiritual, health, fitness, and wellness. I love simplicity. Laughing till your belly hurts is the best feeling. An honest hug and an honest smile are signs of a good soul. Make me laugh and show me your heart. Oh, that's good. And then on Hinge, it says your best travel story. I climbed and trekked the Himalayas in Nepal for humanitarian work. It was a life-changing experience mentally, physically, and emotionally, and spiritually. Mm-hmm. That's kick-ass. That is so cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So now let's introduce our coach for the day. If you've been with us if you've been with us very long, since this is our second episode, we also have a coach that is intended to spark conversation, give us pointers, and generally help us elevate our dating game or relationship or sex game. So I would like to say hello to Dr. Lisa Baker.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. And I'm already like so impressed that I'm gonna learn a lot from our two dates. Bravo. But thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I don't know if this is my computer. It's probably my computer is a piece of crap. So tell us a little bit about your career and what you do. You're based here in Madison.
Yes, I am. But I was in New York City before Madison, Washington, D.C. And then here in Madison, I've been a practicing psychologist for several years. And now I'm working in my own private practice, have my own business, and where I see clients individually and in groups. And I do a lot of work with folks who are dating, either been in the dating game or just getting back in, getting out of like long-term relationships and finding themselves sort of bewildered. So that's a lot of the work that I do. I also work in organizations, and I will say across both working with individuals and then big companies, relationships across the board is what people are really wanting to talk about, how to both get into new relationships and nurture those that they're in. So yeah, it's just always so much to think about and talk about. So I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. I'm trying to figure out what. Okay, so since last week.
Okay? I'm sorry. Is my video okay? Because I can try to move around if it's my.
Yeah, you look great. My computer's just a little weird, so
just checking.
Bear with us.
You all look great.
So I have to put my old lady glasses on. But because of last week, I've updated my profile with a couple of things that I wanted to share with everyone. So it was, I'm using, I'm not proactively, I'm so freaking busy with tour stuff and, you know, building my comedy intergalactic empire. So it has my age on it, but I'm not going to tell you because I have issues. But it says you really want to swipe before you, or read before you swipe. Right. It is.
Sorry.
I hate having friends that know me so well. In search of something real and someone who sees me. And I go through all the stuff that I did last week. Self-proclaimed cougar. Also like guys my age. I'm not picky is what I say. Cheese, ancient aliens looking for a long-term relationship, not really into hookups. And then my location, I'm looking for respectful men who are looking for a chubby, confident, amazing, independent woman. I am transgender and likes are dogs, pizza, comedy, aliens, and UFOs. Ghosts, movies, travel. I'm so dumb. Television. Guys with elf ears. Sleeping, burritos, cheese, beer, ice cream, champagne, and I love my phone. So I made it a little funnier, but I also, like, one of the things that was last week, I'm so tired right now. So last week, our coach told us about, you know, being a little bit more vulnerable. And so I wanted to put that I'm looking for somebody who sees me. Part of me feels like that it's tender. It may fall on deaf ears, but I just like anything that, you know, anything. I don't know what else to say. So let's start with you, Charlene.
Okay.
So tell us what is Hinge? I don't know much about Hinge.
Well, Hinge is something I actually came across. I heard people talking about it because, like, you know, like a lot of people, like there's just not a lot of time, you know, and there's so many dating apps that pop up. It's like one after another after another. And the problem with dating apps is that, yes, there are so many of them, but you see all the same people on them, you know, and so it's hard to distinguish, you know, what's going to work and what's not, who's taking it seriously and who isn't. And when I fell upon Hinge, it was great because they gave you a series of like personal questions to answer. And so they put your answers on your profile, which I'm like, okay, so that way like people get to know your personality, you know, a little bit rather than like just a little like limited bio, you know. And the thing is, sometimes what I find in dating apps is like people put random things on bios that are trying to be funny or promiscuous, and it has nothing to do with actually like who they are and what they're looking for and if they're serious or not. I think that with dating apps, if you are there for only hookups, put that up front, that you are there to hook up and only looking for people that are there to hook up. Because a lot of times what's crazy about it is that you see all these wonderful photos of people. You're like, ooh, I want to get to know them. And especially if they post pictures of them and their families, you know what I mean? Or like their siblings or anything like that. And they're like only here for hookups. I'm like, don't post pictures of your family with you in like these group photos. It's terrible. But, you know, on Hinge, what I liked about it was that if there's a photo on there that like, I'm like, oh, she has such a beautiful smile, or she looks like she's traveling and like there's something that on her profile and that she answered a question, I'm able to comment on it and like it, and she's able to respond. Yeah. You know, and which is nice. And it's not, and it's for me, it's more real in the online dating game. As much as I'd like to just run into someone in the cereal aisle at Trader Joe's, sometimes online dating, especially with, and I've been known to only date foreigners. And so it's great to, you know, meet people from different countries when LA is just, you know, a limited stomping ground. and you get to know people that way long distance. I've definitely had my share of long distance relationships that worked out great. But yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person that is looking for something very solid, very real, someone who is not, because I'm an old school romantic, you know, and this day and age, it's a very hookup type of culture, and it's very hard to be old school. Like sometimes I'll go up, you know, into a bar and I'll approach someone, not for like dating purposes or anything like that. If it leads to that, great. But I'll say, you know, hey, I just wanted to say hi, you're very beautiful. I was like, I don't know if you're here alone or whatever. I was like, I just, you know, no disrespect, I just wanted you to know that you're absolutely stunning, and have a good night. And they think about, like, sometimes you get like the vibe that that person thinks you're absolutely crazy, you're weird, and you're trying to follow them all night. I'm like, no, I'm just paying you an honest compliment. And then that person, which this has happened multiple times, where you meet people at a bar, they totally either ignore you or dismiss you, but then you match with them on Bumble or Tinder or Hinge, and then they're keen to talk to you behind a wall, you know? And it's like, I'm just not that type of person. I'm the type of person, like, if I have something to say to someone and compliment them, I'm gonna say it. I'm the type of person that will ask if I can pick you up at your home. I'm not, you know, let's Uber to a bar, you know? I wanna pick you up. I want that person to open the door and have me see them for the first time without anybody else around. You know, it's kind of like prom. But and a lot of women, I feel like, especially in LA, are very much afraid of that. And they kind of forgot about the genuine, like, human connection. And they're hidden behind all these dating apps and social media, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
True, totally. Gregg?
My Pisces inside me just fell in love with Charlene.
I know,
all
totally.
over again.
I was like, I wish I liked ladies even more now.
Also, though, I was just thinking, sorry, I'm totally commandeering this. How difficult, when I left LA, the apps weren't really a thing yet. So I was just, as Charlene's talking, I'm just like, I don't know if I could do LA dating again. I feel like I was successful while I was there for the 7 years, but now with the apps, like, anyway.
So when I was not successful. I'm not a successful dater.
What does that mean, to not be a successful dater?
That means, like, I don't have dates that often. And I think it's kind of the same thing with you. Like, I'm kind of I have this, like, hopeless romantic thing going, and I want some man to woo me. I want to be wooed. And
yeah.
And
can we bring Lisa in here to talk about why you think you're not a good dater?
Yeah, I was keying into that, but I'm learning, like I said, so much already from all of you. And yeah, I'm not a good dater. And I feel like a lot of people have that sense of themselves. And yet, what's the evidence, you know? And how do we know what's a good dater? I guess that's the first question I would just have for you. How do you know that you're good at dating? I
don't think it's necessarily being good at dating or bad at dating. It's like, I can't get anybody. I rarely go on dates. When I was in Los Angeles, I think I went on 2 or 3 max in a 10-year span, you know, like, and all of them were horrible. One of them was before I transitioned. One was after I transitioned, and he said, it was my first date after I started living as the genuine me. And I went on this date, and he was like, you know, you probably shouldn't say that you're height weight proportionate. And I was 30 pounds lighter than I am now.
What a jerk. So that guy's bad at dating. That's not you bad at dating.
Yeah, that's someone else bad at dating.
Not, like, that's what.
I mean, that's LA dating, I feel. But so, like, I've gone on 2 dates where I felt like they were quote unquote normal dates. Like, the guy saw me, we had great conversation. I wasn't pressured to have sex with him. it wasn't about that. It was about getting to know each other. And one was like, I really enjoyed conversation with him. I just didn't feel a romantic connection. And then another one was, it always happens that I fall deep and then all of a sudden they're like, nowhere to be found.
I miss you.
The kids call that ghosting now.
Yes. I have a lot of ghosting things. So that's when I say I'm not a good dater, like I don't date a lot. I want to date a lot. I say on stage that I date a lot, which is not true, but you know.
But what is considered dating? Do you know what I mean? Like I honestly don't know anymore. Like people who, you know, I go on one date with and they're like, oh my God, we're dating. I'm like, no, we're not. Like pump the brakes. Like we just went on a date. But like as
I walk by somebody and I see them and they smell at me, we're dating.
Dina screams, I do.
You're like, hi. Oh my God, we're together.
Yes, I do. I'll marry you. Like it's
oh my.
The hopeless romantic, right? I mean, I think that was me dating, and some people can be very into it, but yeah, there's can be challenges around that.
Mm-hmm.
I relate to it, you know, because you connect so well with people.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which is a wonderful characteristic. Wonderful.
I connect really well with women, and I wish I could. Like, I really wish that I were a lesbian. Like, I wish I were, because I would be in a relationship.
Don't we all?
Like, I would be in a relationship tomorrow. Like, I have,
Right?
like, women are always like, I'm in love. I think you're so gorgeous. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Like,
I
thank
really
you so
enjoy
much.
you.
Absolutely. Well, I think, you know, and there is a gender, I think there's gender differences that we're all speaking to. And I found myself, and I know other women that I've counseled and I know have had to, you know, really hold in some of their enthusiasm because they found it can scare guys off, which I think is unfortunate. And I think often guys, in some ways want that too, but they don't have the models for how to just really engage in such an emotional way so quickly. So yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty good at hiding my crazy most of the time to them. Gregg hears all my crazy.
But what's crazy? What's considered?
I know, that's so crazy. Go, yes. I like that question, Charlene. What is crazy?
Like when I'm like, I really like this guy. I wonder what we are. Things like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Isn't that things that we all do though? Like,
Greg, you felt, yeah. What do you think?
Oh, we're gonna bring that in? No.
I just mean in general, in your life history.
Sorry.
Have you had to cool the brakes? Because you also had a lot of feelings but didn't know how to read the other person, right? Like just had to branch out across gender. Really.
It's hard. It's a difficult thing. I mean, we all connect with getting into that Twitter-pated moment, that like infatuation where we don't know what's going on, and finding the patience and the responsibility to take the time, because obviously what we're looking for is something, the longevity of it and the, you know, the intensity and someone who we have by our side in 20 years. So that takes time, and we don't always let it. So we all get that way, I think.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's part of being a human in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm. Charlene, how do you deal with when? So, are you most often the person who has someone get a little more intense than you want them to get, or move a little more quickly?
Well, what happens is that I'm very much the type of person that's very open with my feelings, and I don't hide my expressions. The moment I feel something, I will express it, whether it's emotionally, physically, whatever it may be. I definitely don't like to scare people off. I know when I am feeling a lot more intense, because I am so open, and I can tell when someone isn't. And so I do tone it down a bit, but I never hide who I am. I'm never going to not be a romantic. I can never stop it, even if I wanted to, you know? And I think the women that I've gone on dates with, that I've had like incredible dates with, it'll lead to something more intense, and their feelings will get more intense. And the more they get to know me is when all of a sudden they ghost. At one point I was intimate, emotionally, and a little bit physically, not sexually, but with someone for like a little over 8 months. And when I brought up intense feelings, that maybe that you are ready, because now you are moving towards a more deeper intensity with me that I'm noticing. And I brought that up to her, and then literally didn't hear from her again.
Real after 8 months?
I was like, what happened? And then it happened again with another girl, and it was absolutely going amazing. And I think when she realized that I was the real deal, I'm not someone that's like, you're gonna have fun with, and like, this is gonna develop into a possible like girlfriend situation. It's more that this is going to be a possible wife situation. They completely disappear. And I don't know how to stop that. I don't know how to stop being who I am, because the way that women express feelings to me within their emotions and their actions, I will play into that. I will treat someone like a queen. I will put them on a pedestal and be the Romeo to their Juliet. And then the moment they know things are so real, they completely back off. And I'm like, I thought this is what you wanted. And I'm the type of person that is always going to give that 200%. And so I don't know if that's something I should dial down, because then that makes me not feel that I'm being exactly who I am when I'm dating someone. So I don't know if I'm the issue, essentially like a piece of that, where I should be, dialing that down, or if there's a conversation that needs to be had prior to that.
Lisa, do you think that, so do you generally date, Charlene, do you generally date women that are younger than you, or is that something that, like, do you find that mostly with younger women?
I mean, my dating spectrum is, I try to cap it at a minimum of 30. So 30 and above. I'm 37 years old, and typically, like, there's not, especially in LA, I haven't found it anyways. I don't know if they're out there. I hope you are. But women who are finding, something more real and committal, because a lot of the women, even in their mid-30s that I meet out here, are still, they're into heavily drinking, into drugs, into partying, and doing like stupid things. I'm not about that, and because if someone who's dating me, you're not just dating me, you're dating my family. You know what I mean? Like you're going to be representing my family. You're going to be someone who's influencing my future children. And so all that knick-knack stuff, I can't deal with. That's just not where I am in my life.
So, yeah. So I want to get to Lisa, because I want to ask this question in just a moment. But you tend to date gentlemen that are older.
In the past, I have dated mostly older men, and not just like older by a couple of years. I'm 37, but some older men, like in graduate school, I dated a guy who was 15 and 20 years older than me for a while. But I will say last year I was dating, and I went on a couple dates with younger guys, like in mid-20s. And I found actually opposite of what Charlene was talking about, they were very much giving of their emotions. They were ambitious about it. And maybe it was just coincidentally the individuals. But I was kind of taken back, like, okay, okay, like it even intimidated me a little bit. It gave me a little perspective to how I am, because I tend to be the one. I'm also very open with my emotions, and
Right.
and I say, I say fuck it if you can't handle that, because that's who I am. I'm gonna say where I'm at, when I'm at. I'm not gonna be needy. I'm not gonna be demanding of it. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, this is the fact.
Absolutely. I think it's important to be honest up front.
That's tough for me.
Mm.
And so I tend to date guys that are younger just because I find that it's easier to meet guys that are younger that understand and see me more. Not that I've met anybody who really sees me, but there's, when it comes sexually, which I feel like they tend to be a little more open, and so I'm a novelty. I'm an object most of the time, but I feel like younger men tend to not have as many hangups with sex with trans women and older women, and as whatever. But one of the things that I was going to ask you, Lisa, is, do you think that just as a society we have a lack of emotional intelligence?
Well, that was a question sort of hanging in my mind, because what I'm hearing and relating to in so many ways is such honesty and real self-awareness, and in all of you, and I know, we're only getting a snapshot, but when I'm hearing how other people are reacting, I do think there is, people come with a lot of with their baggage around emotion and closeness and attachment and relationships. So, you can be going along great, and then, like Charlene was saying, and think you're there to have this conversation, and then it freaks this person out. So some of my questions were like, where a lot of different questions came up. It was like, well, what were they getting, 8 months and being really intense and really welcoming of your attention? Where did they think this was going? Was it just is that just how they want to be in the world and just soak up good attention?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel that it was getting to a point where it was like, where it was going to be a very deep, it was a very deep connection, and it was incredible and it was beautiful. And then it was the moment where I had to lay out that this was real. Like, now it's like the next step. I mean, it's been like 8 months, and I was very patient, and I'm a very patient person, because I would never want to force anyone into anything or do anything that they are not comfortable with yet in their life or anything like that. Like, if that's the pace that they're going, then let's move at that pace. But she was showing me a lot. And so for me, I felt that, okay, like, it's time to have that conversation where we are now in a legitimate relationship. And at that point, she responded and wanted to see me, and was ready to have that conversation. And then I just never heard from her again.
And that's the emotional intelligence, right? Like, yeah, you can be freaked out. You can be like, I'm not there, but to ghost someone. And I see this in friendships sometimes too, where when it gets intense, and those of us who really are comfortable showing all of it, all of our emotions, and maybe more than that, it's really, it's up to mature, emotionally sort of intelligent people to say, oh, I'm aware that I'm having this reaction, and let me share that with you. And then you have a conversation, right? Dina, I think, right on, and which is where I've really wanted to dedicate my life on a large scale, because doing one-on-one work, when you see a large scale need for emotional intelligence development across the population, it's a lot to behold, because people are hurting each other, and they're not as well. I mean, these folks, the person who will ghost you like that, they're hurting themselves. I mean, my belief is that's, what are they scared of, right? When they're giving up an opportunity for a close relationship, which is a human need. We all need that.
Right.
It might take different forms. We might have multiple partners. I mean, anyway, go on.
So I think so this is my problem, is like, I create a lot more in my head than ever really has happened to me. And so I have never really been in a relationship. I think the longest relationship, quote unquote relationship, was several months, and it was somebody I knew from when I was younger, and it was all long distance because I was living in LA at the time. And I tend to romanticize it, and like, this is hard for me to even, I can't believe I'm saying this right now.
You're among friends.
Yeah. All the internet. And so, like, because I've never had a relationship or really met anybody that had sustainable potential, like, I feel broken. Romance shit.
It's okay. Oh my God, I want to give you a hug. Give me.
Well, fuck.
This is why we used to do
not what
podcasts. There was no real video.
Why did I do this on video? Why did I decide to get vulnerable? Jesus.
Have a glass of, have a sip of wine.
And yeah, this is what the world needs, right? I mean, this is a gift. Yes, have wine. But we need to be real. Dating is fucking hard and painful for a whole lot of people, and you're not alone. And you're brave to be able to share that. I mean, honestly, I mean, it really is a gift, because
I think it's less bravery and more stupidity right now.
No,
I'm doing it for the ratings.
I mean, it's so beautiful to be vulnerable in your emotions right now.
I second that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, let's get real. Realer. More. No, this is not as real. I have a lot of like hang-ups about sex, and I think I've mentioned it before, and it's not necessarily like, it's more religious, like, and plus my body does not reflect who I am. And so, like, sex is not as important to me as it is to most men. And so that's a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about sex drive, guys?
Well, I was going to say that it's very common for the different, people to have different levels of interest. So, but it can feel weird, right? But it's so common. I mean, behind closed doors, I'm hearing all of what you're saying from people that maybe they would never share with other people.
Right.
Well, again, yeah.
Like me, online.
It's
in front of all the YouTubes.
So good.
So, Charlene,
yes.
Do you mind discussing sex drive?
Sure. I mean, me being a Leo, I'm a lion. My sex drive is through the roof. But, but I can also turn it off. I don't necessarily meet women in hopes to like, oh my God, I want to have sex with her. You know what I mean? Sex isn't a massive turn on to me when girls want it or crave it, especially when they don't know me. For me, that's a huge turn off, because for me, an emotional connection is a sense of intimacy that's mind blowing to me. And that in itself creates my sex drive, but my last relationship was probably almost 3 years ago. And like, it ended about like 3 years ago or so. And I don't crave sex. I mean, I have my own way of pleasuring myself, if you know what I mean. And so I'm fine. I'm fine. You know what I mean? Because, for me, once I am in a relationship and I am deeply attracted to someone, both emotionally and mentally and physically, that sex drive just is through the roof. I will for me, once there is that intimacy, like I am incredibly expressive physically, but I can also very much turn it off when a relationship or even dating is not going well. I've never been one to be like, oh, I'm going through a breakup, so I'm gonna go hook up with someone. I need like physical connection, you know? I can just turn it off. Like, ain't nobody getting these cookies. And so I'm like, no.
So, Gregg, can we talk about your sex drive?
Yeah. You're going from a lesbian to a gay man. So, I mean, that's not actually doesn't mean anything. Women have a higher sex drive than most men that I know. Okay. Where do I start with this? Recently, very recently, I was told that I need a 23-year-old. So, like in the last couple of days. So that will give an inclination. But sex drive actually sometimes, because one, I have a high sex drive, and I'm also a very passionate person. Like my sign comes in to play a lot. I like to be affectionate. I love to, and so that adds, is I think with testosterone, that really throws in my sex drive. Going into 2018, I got rid of Grindr. If you're watching, you don't know what Grindr is. Grindr is before Tinder happened, before all this, the gay man thought of Grindr and found a way to tell you how close someone was that would want to hook up. So
gay men created Grindr. It's like,
so this was years ago. I mean, this Grindr came out and it revolutionized how gay men have sex.
So when Grindr came out, you and I, we were still living in LA, and I was like, how many feet away is the bartender? For me, that's what it was. I was like, who in this bar?
Oh.
You know?
So going into this year though, because I'm so busy with work and my other goals are so much more important, I had to get rid of, I like took Grindr off my phone, because not necessarily because I was like hooking up left and right, but because it was that drive still had me looking at the app, had me taking time, and so I removed it because of my sex drive. And again, not to say that I was hooking up 4 times a day, but it was driving my life in a way that I didn't want, that was very unhealthy. So I took it off. But sorry, I got off track. But that's, yeah, like I have a healthy sex drive, but then you get me into a relationship and get me committed to someone, and then it even goes higher. Because I know I have someone that I care about, that I really want to take care of and make sure that I'm meeting all the needs that they have, both emotionally, both like logistically, but then also sexually. So
Right.
I know, being a Taurus, like before I transitioned, I know I had a really high sex drive, but it was more, sex was always something that I did when I was drunk and lonely. And so that's kind of, there was a lot of shame around it, also with Christianity. 2 years ago, I spent 6 months in Milwaukee, and I had a lot of sex, and for the first time in my life, really. And it was fun and cool, but I was like, I don't want this.
You wanted more.
Yeah, I want more. So, and for me, like, I can personally separate myself from having just sex to having sex with somebody I care about, which has been once or twice maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, I have that, I guess I'm Taurus. What I really want is just to cuddle, like, and I mean, legit cuddle, not like straight man cuddle, you know?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Or gay man cuddle.
Oh my God.
Oh, no. Gay men, we can cuddle.
No, I mean,
oh, gay best friend.
I'm a gay best friend cuddle. I don't want that. I mean, I like it. I don't not like it, but it's not what I.
Now you just make things awkward.
Always do. That's the story of my life. So yeah, Lisa, your take on this?
Well, I mean, I think we're really touching on touching, so to speak. We don't get to talk about that much. I mean, I do think differences in sex drives can new relationships when people aren't sure how to have this conversation. So some can be sexual in ways they're not actually comfortable with, and that'll affect how people are either vulnerable or not in those relationships. So, I think, and it sounds like what I'm hearing from this conversation that there's comfort, Gregg, when you're in relationship to have that conversation. I guess I'm curious, like, when you have a high sex drive, do you always find that match where someone else is like, I'm with you? Or how do you negotiate when someone's like, I'm not there, but it doesn't mean I'm not as into you, right? I think there's a lot there that we don't even know how to interpret sometimes.
Well, I will match that level. Like, it's not that it's always on. I think Charlene said it really well. Like, she's able to turn off. I can bring it because my emotions get in there and I want to be there for who I'm with. So I think that, there are ways to still feed the beast, I guess, let's say, without having to do it, just because frequency isn't necessarily, quality is probably better than quantity when it comes to matching with your lover, I think, with your partner. And that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's emotional intelligence again. I mean, really, because what you're describing is attunement, right? Like, you know that you have a high sex drive, but you're attuned enough to gauge where the other person's at. Maybe they're, through nonverbals or directly verbal. But what I have seen with a lot of clients is that there isn't that awareness. And so the mismatch can cause a lot of pain, especially if people have had discomfort with their bodies and maybe, histories of just not like emotional pain around sex. So, the more something I teach and I talk about with people is how do we just start having honest and more comfortable conversations about sex and understand our own bodies better around it. So, but it's, yeah.
That's why Aggressively Single is here.
Yeah, Anonymous. I feel so honored to be here because we don't get to usually have this out in the world. It's really like, happening behind closed doors, which is really unfortunate because this is part of all of our lives,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this is like sometimes the conversations that do scare people that they don't want to talk about and they don't want to deal with. And the reason why a lot of people tend to either close off or run away, because then you're kind of like shining a light when you're being real that they need to be real, and there's people who are not emotionally ready to be real. And it's like, what do you do when you are such in a vulnerable place and you're ready to be open and honest with someone? Someone is inspiring you to come out of your shell. And because they see that, they're like, uh-oh, now I'm going to have to do it. I don't know if I can do that. And then they go away. And it's, it's unfortunate because it's not that there's something wrong with that person. That person can be someone that you fell in love with and they just are not in that emotional space with you, or they're not, what's that say? They don't have that hone on emotional responsibility. Because I feel like once you start gaining emotions, with, on both ends, you have an emotional responsibility to someone, every single thing that you do and say from now on affects that other person. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that. They still think they're such an independent person and like, what I do, this is who I am, like take it or leave it. And it's like, no, we're in this as a team now. And, unfortunately people run away and it sucks because they're such great people and they don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right? The other thing of like them not knowing how amazing they are. And yeah.
But I I'm going to call you out a little bit. You don't realize how amazing you are oftentimes either. So, but it's true. Like, I know that I'm amazing, but I know that I'm amazing in certain situations. Like, I know I'm amazing at stand-up. I know that I'm amazing at, you know, producing things that I produce. I know that I'm amazing at those things, but I still think even knowing how amazing we are, we tend to undervalue how amazing we are in relationships and dating wise,
or that we need to also get justification or validation from who we're with, even though they wouldn't probably be dating us if they didn't think we were amazing.
I just want somebody to validate me.
You are beautiful and you are amazing.
Thank you.
Let me just say something, because even though it is behind a screen right now and it's behind the computer and I haven't seen you in a very long time, but I do, you know, obviously follow you on social media and all that stuff. Like, even from here, you exude, both of you, all of you exude such beautiful energy that is so, you have this confidence that's like up here, but it's like, all you have to do is break that window and let everybody else like see it and feel it, because it's already there. Like right now, even though like, you know, you were so vulnerable in your emotions, and when you started to cry, those are things that people wish they had. They had the ability to do that, because a lot emotions are scary. Emotions are terrifying. Nobody can admit anything, but the fact that you did that is so beautiful.
Gregg knows how easily I cry, though.
But you on the internet, girl.
I mean, go. Sorry, respond. That was
no. You go, because I was about to go to and move on to another thing. So, Lisa, go.
Well, and I guess you know, it comes back to what you said at the beginning. It just hit me that when you said I'm not good at this, and it really. But as you described what that meant, what I was hearing, and it's significant, is that you're describing a lot about other people not being actually mature enough to sort of work with and meet you on your level. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's things here and there you can do differently, but I do think when we, those of us who are more open, like we've all been talking, we're going to have like a sort of a more narrow number of people to date. So that also means you're going to have
so you just cut up and cut out a little bit. So can you repeat the last?
So I was saying, as we really being discerning that there's going to be somewhat, you know, often a narrower spectrum of people who will meet us in that place of honesty and comfort around emotion. And that if they can hang, that doesn't mean you're a bad dater. And I think we need to watch those old tapes, because that'll come right up. I can see it, Dina, because that tape came out real quick. That tape of that, you know, that thought, right? I'm a bad dater. I'm like, whoa, that came right out. That was the first thing that came out. And I'm not. You're right. And so you're gonna have to catch yourself and have all of your loving friends who really do see you. You are seen, and you're good at relationships. Look at these friendships, right?
Yes.
So I don't buy it. Like, you're not and now it's really about doing some discernment around who you let into your life, and really where to find quality people.
I could stop letting alcoholics and drug addicts into my life. Or my bed, rather. So, Lisa, I'm going to come back to you and ask you for a dating pro tip after I ask 2 more questions to the daters, okay? So think about your dating pro tip. All right, Charlene.
Yes. Here we go.
Best date, worst date from apps.
Okay. Best date? I mean, best date.
And worst date. Best date and worst date.
Okay, so best date.
From dating apps or websites?
It was from a dating app. That was one of my best dates. We met at a speakeasy bar that probably had I don't know, like 3, maybe 4 people in it. And so we had the whole bar to ourselves to talk and kind of get to know each other. But the best thing is that the moment I saw her, she gave me the biggest hug as if we just haven't seen each other in like 20 years. And I was like, who? I was like, I felt all warm and fuzzy. Like I was like reuniting with someone. And I offered to get the first drink. And I remember her sitting at the table, and I went to order our wine and all that stuff. And I was like sitting there waiting for the bartender to bring the drink back. And I remember just like under my breath, I was like, oh my God. I was having this like physical reaction. I was like, oh my God, there's no way. I was like, this girl is absolutely beautiful. And I feel like I've known her for so long and I'm reuniting with her. I was having all these like things and my hands were moving everywhere. And I look up and I didn't realize there was a full mirror behind the bar and she can see me that whole time. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is embarrassing. But she found it so endearing, and we shut the place down, absolutely just talking to one another and meeting a couple people there that kind of joined us in conversation, and we let them know that we were on a date. And I don't kiss on the first date. It was a thing that I always had. I know like a lot of people say that, but it was one of those things where it was like, I need to feel something with someone that is a solid connection rather than just like, oh, I want to make out with you because you're really pretty. But the moment she hugged me, I was like, there's not a shot in hell. It's going to end in a kiss. I know it. And sure enough, it did. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. And it's just unfortunate that she ghosted. She disappeared after 2 dates.
Yeah.
Yeah. After 2 days. Like, it was amazing. We would spend like hours upon hours with one another. And even the second date was better than the first date. And then just didn't hear from her again. But that doesn't, for me, it doesn't take away that those 2 dates were absolutely amazing, and I got to know her for that amount of time, and I felt great about myself. She felt great about herself, and if it was only meant for those 2 dates, then so be it. It was still amazing. I'm not gonna discredit that at all just because she went away.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Worst date?
The what?
Worst date?
Oh, the worst date. Oh, God. Let me think about this one for 2 seconds. Oh, God. Oh, this was when I was living in London. I went on a date with this girl, and she looked about 10, 15 years older than her photos. They were much younger photos, which I feel like, you know what, like, you don't do that. Like, yes, you look great in those photos, but you don't look like that now. And so it's not to say that like, oh, that person's not beautiful. Now it was just like how they represented themselves versus what they presented, And from the get-go, it was like she showed up a little tipsy already, which sometimes a lot of people get nervous and they like to take a swig, before they leave the house. That's fine. But if we're sitting down talking and I'm like, yeah, let me get a glass of, like white wine versus, hey, let me get 2 shots. I was like, wow, and that's where it's starting off. Okay. And it was like one of those things where we're sitting next to each other and she immediately put her hands on my leg. I'm like, okay, this is like, I get it, we're on a date, but for me, that's completely inappropriate because I have not invited you into my space, And for me, I was very much like, please, like, let's hands off. And she got real aggressive after that. She was like, oh, looks like I'm never touching you. was like, wow. I was like, okay. And I started to, I was like, let me make, make it a little humorous and fun because, just to break the ice a little bit. And she did not go for that. I was like, oh, someone wants to be a little touchy-feely too early. I was like, let's lead up to that, even though in my head I'm like, hell no, not a shot in hell. Not only are you drunk, but you're already touching me. And then from then on, the date kind of like was, more talking and her trying to be like touching. She'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot, no touching you, And then she went to the bar to get another drink and her hand is on another girl's back.
No,
and I was like, that's cute. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to disappear. I'm just going to leave. And I left.
Oh, good. Okay. Gregg, worst date.
Okay, worst date first?
Yes. I feel like we're getting.
What? Okay, worst date would have been this last year in Johannesburg. I met this guy in Grindr, and he had years past when I was working in Joburg. He had like said hi, and I never really said anything to him. And so I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then he hit me up on Tinder, and I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna be a jerk. I've got, I'm just in Joburg working for a few days, so I've got some time." So finally went out with him. He picked me up in this just be like over the top car. Went to dinner. Like we were at dinner, and he had went to high school with someone that was at the restaurant with us, and he started talking shit about her. And then he asked, about was asked about family. I didn't think about anything about it too much. Asked about family, and he's like, "Oh, well, what about your brother?" And my brother had just passed away, about a year before that. And so I didn't want to really talk about it yet. And it was about mental health. And then he tells me goes into all this about like how he's tried to commit suicide and all this. And I'm like, I felt good that he felt comfortable telling me, but it just was too soon. And so I also made a comment. There's a word in Afrikaans, Lani, and it means posh. And I'm like, he's like, well, what Afrikaans words do you know? And I'm like, Lani, and it's appropriate for this car. And so that comes back at the end of the date. So he drops me off, nothing, no kiss. Unlike Charlene, I like to get a kiss. No kiss, nothing. And so a couple days later, I WhatsApp him, and I'm like, hey, like I haven't heard from you. What's going on? He's like, I just feel that you were too judgy and that you were not open to anything and that you kept hiding your emotions. And I was like, oh, I'm like, oh. So like totally called me out, judgy, like all this. And I'm not, I can be judgy, but not on a first date. Like I'm very, like, I'll take you for anything. Anyway, so that was, I was trying to rifle through the good dates because I've had a lot of good social media good like on the app dates. I would say, sorry, let's say it's his birthday today, actually. We'll do another South African. Years ago, I was on Tinder. I met this wonderful guy. We're still great friends. We decided I took an Uber to the restaurant. We shut down the restaurant. It led to a bottle of wine at his house. We, played with the dogs and got to know each other. It was so adorable. Yes, I stayed the night. The next morning, like, made me breakfast. He brought me to his favorite coffee shop in Joburg. Like, it just lasted. It was one of those dates that last a really long time when you think it's just going to be dinner. And it was wonderful and intimate, and we connected. And yeah, and now I have a good friend out of it. So that's that.
Awesome. So best date for me was I met this guy on Tinder. I was in the process of moving to Milwaukee for a little bit, 6 months. And so I met this guy. He wanted me to go to his house, but I didn't initially. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to Starbucks. I've got a lot of work to do, so I'm going to go start catching up on some stuff. So he met me there. His Lyft dropped him off his whatever rideshare, dropped him off at the wrong Starbucks several blocks away, and it was pouring cats and dogs. So he walked all the way to the Starbucks in the rain where I was, and then and it was cute, and he had a beard and long hair and a googly eye and one thumb. And so we were talking, and then I was like, I need to step outside just for a moment to smoke because, you know, bad habits. So he followed me and he kissed me in the rain. And it was so romantic and sweet. And then we spent several more like house dates, I guess, not sex, but like he slept over a couple nights and we hung out, and a lot of red flags with as far as relationships go, but it was the day after I moved in, like he came over and slept over, and I'd never had anybody sleep over and just cuddle and it feel nice. And then we walked to breakfast in the snow, and he held my hand in public, and
come on.
It was like
so good.
So like there was a lot of not good about it, but like as far as like it was romantic and everything I want other than some of the things that he brought to the table. So still friends. Hope he's not watching this. Worst date, I went out with this guy. He was super nice. I don't have a problem picking someone up if we talk about, like if he's like, hey, I don't have a car, or do you mind swinging by and collecting me? But he was way on the other side of town. And it was last minute. Like he was like, can you come pick me up? And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I ended up picking him up. We went to this place. He asked what he should wear, but I was like, casual, we're just going to a pub. And, but he wore painter's pants with paint splatters all over them. And
what?
Yeah. Like not a first date at all.
Yeah, you weren't having.
No, I wasn't. He was boring as funk. He didn't laugh at one of my jokes all night, and I am funny. And at the end, I went to drop him off, and he leaned in to kiss me, and I was like, I just turned my cheek.
Oh my
God. Home, and I was like, he's so nice. Why can't he be more interesting? and he's like, can I see you again? And I was like, and it was really hard for me to text him, I'm sorry, I just didn't feel really into you, and you're really nice, but I'm not interested. And that was hard for me because like, what do they say? One in a hand is better than what is
You're the one that always knows these things.
Anyway, I don't know that thing, but like, a chick in a pan is better than 50 outside of it. But it broke my heart because I was like, is it like, I literally was like, is it always going to be that one person likes the other more? And it was just really heart-wrenching. And so worst date. That's that. Okay.
Oh,
and now Lisa, pro tip.
Pro tip, Lisa.
Oh, and I always see so much complexity. So to pull a tip out of the dating sort of world that we're all dealing with. So I will say that what's really popping out, and so much of what we've talked about, is like self-awareness, and it starts with what are my intentions, right? Like from when I put my profile out there. What am I looking for? And so does that match with what I'm really showing the world, right? And I think when you're someone, and I think like our dating guests who really truly have a sense of themselves, that could be a very fluid process, but for a lot of other people, it's really not. So sometimes I think if you have a good friend or someone you can really kind of walk through this with, that would be really helpful. Because I do think it's like what you are who you're looking to attract. You're really thinking about how to you know, how to show who you are in the way that you want to find the right person. So you can have less of the bad dates. And then the other piece that I know it's probably more than one tip, but it is, again, about self-awareness and listening to your own body, your reactions, your gut. And I think that when your gut on a date is saying no, and it's okay to listen to that. I think people really override some gut reactions, and they can be in situations that are really not healthy or good for them. Yeah, and then the other side of that is infatuation is real. Dopamine is very real. And so sometimes we can think we're in love really fast. And I was that person dating. And so it doesn't mean that there's not a true amazing connection that could be love, but to maybe just take a breath and sort of be in the ride, but just be really mindful of like, how much do you want to throw your whole self into this at this point? And again, it's really going to be person to person. But
Right.
That's it.
Well done.
Yeah. Well done on you all so much.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Charlene. Tell us more where we can find you on the socials and websites.
On all of social media. You can find me on Instagram at Char on the mic, which, you know, it's going to be on the on Dina's Instagram page, but you can also find me on Facebook, Charlene Borgia. And I am very open to all messages, and I pretty much respond to everything. I try to anyways, and I always tell people you'll always get the real me. I ain't got time to fake it, you know what I mean?
And I can attest to that. Knowing you and seeing your public personality over the years, like, you've always just been you, and I think that's so cool.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And then Gregg, where can people find you?
Everyone can find me. I'm GG Potter on Instagram, Twitter, and I think Facebook. And chuckpotter.com is my website. But really, just message me on the social media, on the socials.
On the socials. And Lisa, where can we find you?
So my practice is lisabakerphd.org. It's online. I don't do the Twitter and all of those things I should, so I'm going to ask you for coaching about that. But I do a lot of work here in Madison, but also I'm doing a lot online, and I also travel to New York quite a bit. So so that's where you find me.
Awesome.
There is my
the slight lag. You guys disappeared.
Hi, uh-oh.
Oh.
We're good.
I think we lost them, Lisa.
Oh.
Hi, Rox.
Hi, sorry.
No, you're good. I appreciate your advice, Lisa.
Well, I appreciate you and just all that you shared. I'm seriously learned a lot, and it makes me want to come out and just be out there and
right?
Like you.
Where are you located? Are you in New York?
So I am actually in Madison with these guys, which has been great
in
so many ways. But it is, but New York, I felt very comfortable there.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know you guys were in Madison this whole time. Yes. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles, and so when Dina was like 8 o'clock, I'm like, great. And then I was like at the store, and it was like 5:50. Are you ready? I was like, what?
Great, you jumped in. I can't believe I'm in Madison myself a lot of the time. It's very different than the big cities, but it has its nice qualities. I get to see people pretty easily.
Oh, that's great. Nice.
I think they're gone. So maybe
are they still gone? I know, we're still live. I wish we could take like callers.
I know. I was like, did we get any comments or questions?
I have no idea. I don't even know where they would be located. I don't even know where people can find this. I think on YouTube.
They're on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on YouTube. But anyways, I'm hoping that, dating gets better and more real, because I mean, there's definitely a lot of people out there that their profiles are deceiving, so to speak, where they
That
are,
was the whole thing. Yeah.
they say they're looking for someone, but they're actually looking for validation for their egos. And then that's about it.
What is your intention, really? Do you really want someone, or you just want to be? Yeah, and people often don't even. I mean, either they know or they really have no idea, and then they get freaked out
Right.
when they.
I just, no matter what, I always try to put my authentic self and best foot forward as much as I can. And if that scares people away, then, then I always figure that that's not the person for me to, to get to know anyways.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah. Yep. Oh, there they are.
Yeah. No, I definitely was that person. I'm like, where did they go? I thought we were. Yeah. I ended up partnering with my partner, who we've been together since very long time at this point now. We were friends. It was unexpected. I never dated a friend before, and we started out as friends, and not super close friends, but it took me by surprise. So
Oh, got it.
yeah. So is that Greg?
Hi, Greg.
It is.
I was like, where'd you guys go? We were talking to ourselves, having a girls' chat.
So apparently my computer died.
No.
So we're still live.
I said we're still live, but we'll just talk, and whoever needs to listen.
I know. Are they done? I don't know. We just started chatting.
The upside about being an open book is this is, not uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right?
Totally. So that was
Do you have more questions, final thoughts? I want to know them all.
for were you asking that to Lisa?
No, for everyone. All of us.
Like Dina, come on.
For Dina, you're telling all of us. This is your show, boo.
I mean, I know. That's what my next question was. What does anybody have final words before we go?
Who wants to start? I mean, should I start?
Yeah.
Yes, please start.
Okay, so final words is that I encourage people to accept their beauty, to always express their authenticity. I think honesty is something that is very terrifying, but also very much beautiful and admirable at the end of the day. And if anyone makes you feel afraid of that, that's your cue to walk away. Because if you can't be your authentic self, however it is that you identify, and also no matter how you express your emotions, you should always, that's my number one thing. My full takeaway is to always be your authentic self, because if you really want for people to see the true you have to be the true you.
Good.
Yeah.
Gregg?
Agreed with all that. I also want to put a plug out there for it's not necessarily have to be online. Like, don't completely give up on authentic meeting. And I'm saying this from experience right now. Just when I was giving up totally for the year because I needed to focus on other things, I met someone through friends at a wedding. Very cliche, and it's been wonderful so far. And I'm not saying this to get married to, and I'm not saying, but it's been glorious. Like, it's been a great moment. Glorious. It's been a great moment just to be like,